Hey everybody, I'm Chef Tom with All Things Barbecue, and today I'm going to be making everyone's favorite Italian comfort food, lasagna. Our lasagna is going to have three main components. The first one is the noodles, the second the red sauce, and then the bechamel. Now we're going to get started by making the noodles because that's going to take a little while. We're working with our double lot flour. This is what we'd use for pizza normally because it's really great for stretching. So we'll put down about 10 ounces of that, and I'm just going to mound this right here on our work surface. And we'll create a little well right here. This is where our eggs are going to go. And we're going to use 4 eggs. The only other thing I'm going to need is about a teaspoon of salt. All right, we're going to get started just by whisking these guys up. And then slowly we'll begin to work our flour into the egg mixture. And as we work around in a circle, we just take on a little bit of this flour every time we come by. And this egg mixture starts to take on a form. All right, so check this out. It almost looks like super runny, like undercooked scrambled eggs, but it's holding a shape now. So what I want to do at this point is abandon the fork. We're going to move over to our bench knife and start working the rest of this flour into the egg mixture. And if we kind of chop it up, it exposes those wet areas and allows the flour to attach. All right, so we've taken on most of the flour. At this point, it's time to start kneading. All right, so we're just going to gather this all up, start to press it together. It'll be a little bit sticky, and this would be when you might want a little extra flour, a little bench flour. All right, so adding just the slightest bit of flour at a time, we get this to where we can actually work it, and it becomes this pasta dough ball. And at this point, we're just going to work this gluten a little bit, develop that out, so this will stretch really nice for us here in a little bit. All right, so we're just folding this over and working it. As it gets sticky, you could add a little bit of flour. We'll do this for just a minute or two. And once it feels like that gluten's really gotten stretched out, I mean, look how much it shrinks up. You move it and it shrinks up immediately, and you see how it's starting to tear? That tells us that it's worked to its limit, so now we've got to leave it to rest. So I'm going to throw this in some plastic wrap, put this ball of dough into the fridge, and when we come back to it, we'll be ready to roll it out. While our pasta dough rests, why don't we go ahead and whip up our red sauce? Our sauce is going to start with a mirepoix base, so that's 2 parts onion to 1 part carrot and 1 part celery. I'm going to get these diced up, and then we're actually going to throw them in a food processor and get them processed down really fine. Since this is going into the food processor, I really don't have to worry too much about how nice my dice looks. I'll kind of do a rough chop on this. Then I'm going to add to our mirepoix just some sliced cloves of garlic. So this is a really fine consistency, which is going to allow it to just melt into our sauce as it cooks. This red sauce is going to feature 3 different meats today. In fact, you're going to see a lot of 3s in this recipe. You'll notice there's 3 parts to the recipe. There's 3 ingredients in our pasta dough. We're using 3 different meats in our red sauce. And you're going to see that there's basically 3 ingredients in the bechamel that we'll make later on. But back to that meat. We're going to start with 1 pound of 80/20 ground beef. We're also going to have a ½ pound of hot Italian sausage, and to really up the ante, we're adding a ½ pound of pancetta, which is essentially Italian bacon. A lot of times you'll find pancetta pre-packaged and sliced really thin, but what I want to do today is get this into cubes, dice it down so that we have nice crispy cubes of pork in our sauce. So what you want to do is just go up to the deli counter, tell them you want them to cut a chunk off of that, and then you can dice it at home. We've got our skillet preheated. It's nice and hot. And I'm going to throw this cubed pancetta down to begin to render and get crispy. You see that the fat is rendering out and filling out the bottom of the pan. And you can also see on the outside we've got some beautiful brown coloring. And at this point what I want to do is add in that pureed mirepoix, as well as our other 2 meats. And the beautiful thing that's going to happen next is all of the fat inside these meats is going to begin to work itself out. We're going to cook all of these wonderful mirepoix flavors into the meat, into that fat, and it's going to create a lot of flavor and a really supple mouthfeel. Our meats are all browned. Just listen to that sizzle. Smells amazing. Now it's time to start adding some of our liquids. The first of the liquids we're going to be adding, I'll let you guess how many liquids there are. There's 3. The first one is white wine. I'm going to go with about a ½ cup of white wine. And this is going to cook all the way down until we can't tell it's there anymore. And then we're going to add our next liquid. We're currently concentrating all of that wine flavor. And the wine's got a little acidity to it. I mean, this is going to help balance everything out, right? So far we've got all of these fatty flavors and textures. We're going to add a little wine to really balance things. It's going to be a little bit of back and forth like that until we're done with this sauce. All right, liquid number 2, some whole milk. And here we are again with that back and forth. A little fat, a little acid, and again, we want to let this cook down until you almost can't even tell it's there. Now the milk has reduced almost all the way down. The next thing that we're going to be adding is the tomatoes. But what we have here are some whole peeled organic tomatoes from California. The San Marzano tomato would be a perfect tomato for this occasion as well. And we're just going to throw them in there whole, and then as they begin to cook down, we'll smash them, we'll break them up a little bit. And for now, we can leave these to cook down and for this sauce to reduce a little bit further. We've given the tomatoes about 10 minutes, maybe 15 over a medium-low heat to reduce, make a little bit of room for our final liquid, which is chicken stock. And this is just going to add a little more depth of flavor to the sauce. And at this point, I want this thing to simmer probably for another 30 minutes. It's going to reduce and thicken up. All those flavors are going to meld together. So for now, I'm going to set this aside on another burner, and we're going to get to work on our bechamel. A lot of us grew up eating lasagna that had ricotta cheese in it and mozzarella cheese in it, and it wasn't until later in life that I discovered bechamel and just how much that could improve a lasagna. Now, bechamel is one of those really basic sauces that any chef out there learns, and a lot of you home cooks absolutely know already, and it's essentially a gravy. So we're going to start with butter and flour. We're going to create a roux and then add some milk to it. And then from there, a French bechamel would a lot of times have nutmeg in it. If you added a cheese, that changes the element completely. But today what we're going to do is keep it pretty simple with the seasonings. We're going to add some Italian seasonings to our bechamel, and that's going to be one of the other layers that we create in this lasagna. So we start this off with 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. Get it melted down. As soon as it's melted down, we can add our flour. We'll have about 6 tablespoons of flour. This actually equals out at 2 ounces by weight of each item. So we want a fairly light roux for our bechamel. We're not going to go too dark. We're just going to try and cook that flour flavor out of the mixture. My milk is not cold at this point. This works a lot better if you warm it up a little bit first. We're going to add about a half cup at a time, maybe a little bit more. And once those lumps go away and it thickens up, add a little bit more. We're looking to add about 4 cups of milk total. With all of the milk incorporated, we're just going to run this over medium heat until it's thickened, but in the meantime, we can add some seasonings. I'm going to use some Cattleman's Grill Italiano so we can really incorporate some of those Italian herbs and spices. Plus, I really like the way it makes the bechamel look. It's going to be peppered with all of these different colors that come from these herbs and spices. And all it takes is a few minutes for this to really thicken up. And this is ready to go. So let's move on to rolling out our pasta, and then we can get everything assembled and onto the smoker. Here's our pasta dough that I had in the fridge. It's relaxed now. It's ready to be stretched and worked once again. So we're going to divide this up and start actually rolling it out and then passing it through the pasta roller. Now, part of this process is responding to the dough and knowing that when it pulls back too much, it means it needs to rest for a little bit longer. So I'm going to get a few of these pieces rolled out like this and ready to go through the pasta roller, but we're going to let them rest for just a few minutes before we do that. So we'll start passing this through on the widest setting, and we'll go through a couple of passes that way. And then we can work our way down one more notch. We keep this floured so it doesn't stick to anything. And again, we're watching for when it's pulling back to give it a break from the stretching. Currently, it's not pulling back much at all. So we can continue to work our way down to the next number, going a couple passes at each number. And here's something fun you can do if you want to incorporate a little extra color and flavor into your pasta. You lay out some basil leaves on the surface, and then fold the pasta over the leaves. Now we'll back up our pasta roller so we can go to a thicker stage once again and then pass this through. And we'll sandwich these leaves into the pasta. And this has gotten to the point where I want to divide it to continue to pass it through and get it even thinner. Next thing we want to do is take these sheets of pasta and cut them so that they'll fit into our casserole dish that we're baking our lasagna in. So from here you can square up the edges if you like so that it presents a little better. And I'll just use this piece as my template for all the other pieces that we have. If you got some pieces that are a little short like this one, no big deal. I mean, this is all going inside the lasagna. Nobody's really gonna notice that your pieces are a little bit different in size. What they are gonna notice is just how delicious this homemade fresh pasta tastes. These noodles do need a little bit of time in some boiling water, simmering water, probably less than a minute. It doesn't take long to cook fresh pasta. And we want them fairly al dente. They need some bite to them because they are gonna cook for a longer period of time once they get into the smoker. First things first, we're gonna do a very generous amount of salt into our water, and then we'll get a couple of sheets of noodles in here at a time. All right, so these are softened, probably 45 seconds to a minute. I'm gonna gently remove them from the water and place them on an oiled sheet pan. We don't want these to get gummy. We don't want them to stick to one another. So we're gonna use a little olive oil to make sure that that doesn't happen. All right, guys, we got all our components ready to go. It's time to layer up this lasagna and get it into the smoker. To finish off our red sauce, I'm just gonna add a little bit of parsley, and that'll really waken up as this heats up in the smoker. Catch that aroma and that flavor in the end. Look how beautifully thick this is. It tastes fantastic, guys. All right, layer one. We're gonna start with our bechamel sauce right on the bottom, and that's so that we don't burn our noodles to the bottom of the pan. What we're looking for is just a thin, even layer that covers the entire surface. So now we can layer in some of our noodles. Hit it with some red sauce. Nice hearty layer. And then I've got a blend of two cheeses I want to use. I'm blending together 2 parts Parmigiano Reggiano and 1 part sharp provolone. All right, now we're just going to keep repeating this process. We got our top layer of pasta here, and we're just gonna finish it off with our ragu. I don't know how you guys like to do this out at home, but I'm gonna get every last bit of this delicious red sauce that I can. Well, we talked about the couple of cheeses that we're using today, and you guys might be used to doing some other stuff. I know it's pretty common to see ricotta and lasagna, pretty common to see mozzarella. I'll tell you one thing about fresh mozzarella is that it has tons of moisture in it. So while it's really delicious, you can get a really soggy dish in the end when you use a cheese like that. These 2 cheeses are a little bit more dry, so they'll melt, but they won't add too much extra moisture to the dish. And it looks like we had just the right amount of cheese today. And this beautiful thing is ready to go into the smoker. All right, we're gonna throw this bad boy on the second shelf of our Yoder Smokers YS640 pellet grill. And we're running this cooker at 400 degrees today. I'm gonna come back in about half an hour to check on it, and we'll let you guys take a peek when we get some nice color and everything starts moving along. With 30 minutes in, it was looking pretty good, but we wanted a little bit more crust on the top and the outside. So we gave it another 15 minutes, 45 minutes in. The temperature is past 165 degrees, so it's plenty hot inside. This thing's looking good. Let's pull it off. That sharp provolone's popping out at me. It smells so good. Well, we let this cool off for just a little bit so we could slice into it and it all hold together a little better. And I've been waiting all day long to taste this, so I'm gonna go ahead and dig in now. Woo! Look at that. Layer upon layer. Man, that looks fantastic. You know what's great is if you let this really cool off, you can slice these into individual pieces and then put them back in the cooker, cover them with some more cheese if you want, and let them get crispy all the way around. I don't have the patience for that, guys. I gotta taste this. I gotta know what it's like. Get a little bit of everything in that bite. Man, homemade is the way to go. I've never had a lasagna that good at a restaurant. You get layer upon layer, creaminess, all the meatiness. Man, that red sauce is just fantastic. And check out these noodles, man. These noodles are just so tender. That's what happens when we make those from scratch. Thanks so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed the video, please click that subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments, or there's anything you'd like to see me cook, let me know in the comment section down below. For more recipes, tips, and techniques, head over to thesauce.atbbq.com. All things barbecue, where barbecue legends are made.